What's going on, everybody? Hope you all are having a fantastic day. Today is December 11th, almost done with 2020, and I think I can speak for everybody when I say we're done with this year. I'm
Yeah.
sitting here joined with Sammy today. Ori, unfortunately, will not be joining us, but it's okay because we're going to have a fantastic time anyway. Right, Sammy?
Yeah, it's holiday season officially, I guess. Hanukkah started. I actually celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas. Some may say it's cheating. I say it's whatever. But yeah, no, I'm celebrating Hanukkah, so that started. That was yesterday. Started yesterday, and then Christmas is coming up. You can see, got my Chicago sports decorated tree. Got like a Jonathan Tays, some Bears ornaments. So
How
having a
about
fun
Chicago
time over the
sports?
holiday.
Not a great year for Chicago sports.
Not a good year. I mean, it's been brutal. And today's the first day. Right now, actually, on my TV, as we're recording, I'm watching the Bulls game, a preseason, and we'll be talking about the NBA in a little bit. But they're getting blown out, and it's like I have no hope. The Bears are on a historic losing streak. They haven't had a streak that bad in 20 years. The Cubs most likely are going to head into a rebuild. I don't really follow hockey, but the Blackhawks are not a good team. As far as my knowledge goes. And then the Bulls are horrible. And then I'm a Kentucky basketball fan for college basketball, and they've had the worst start they've had in years. Not a fun time to be a sports fan for me. But you know what? We're going to power through it. And that's what you got to do. Learn from me. If your teams are horrible, power through it. So, yeah, Jack, how are you doing today? As we're in the holiday season, how's your Hanukkah been so far?
My Hanukkah is going well, and I like how you just brought up how you doing, so that kind of ruins my point. But when Ori's here, we have pleasantries. We say, how you doing, Jack? How you doing, Ori? I hope you're doing well. When you're here, you just want to get right to the sports. No time for pleasantries, and I like it, Sammy.
Well,
I like it. Get right to the
the
nitty-gritty.
sports is the pleasantries for me. I'm here for the sports. But yeah,
The
no, I
sports
mean, in all
is
honesty, I just can't think of anything else to say.
wow.
No,
Sammy is also working on the beat for Ori's beautiful
yeah.
poetry.
Yeah, and if you guys have been listening, it was like, I want to say 2 or 3 episodes ago, Ori had this beautiful poem. I don't remember what it was called or who it was about, but it was for some class of his. He read it to us, and it was so amazing that I volunteered to make a beat. And I had the beat ready. I do have it ready. Next episode, Ori's here. We're hoping it's going to be next week. He is going to be able to rap his poem. So if you've been wondering about that, stay tuned for next week. It's going to be epic when he raps his poem.
You see, what actually happened is I volunteered to write the beat for Ori, and Sammy was like, wait, Jack, I have a song released on iTunes. You know nothing about music. Why don't I release the beat? And I was like, okay, well, if you insist, because some people can't have their artistic talent overtaken by someone like me, obviously very
Oh.
musically talented, just in every possible way. But let's get right into the sports. Sammy, no universal DH in 2021. I know you might be a fan of that. I am not. I think the majority of baseball agrees with me when they say they are not. I think it's sort of like 70-30 right now for universal DH. Would you agree
Yeah,
with that?
I mean, I'd agree with that. And, after the 2020 season, because, before we had a whole Judge Judy about this, we argued, we debated. I was very in favor of no universal DH. I like, just pitchers hitting, all that jazz. But as the season progressed, I grew to like it a little bit more. I'm still against it, and I'm glad they did this, but it's really only a matter of time. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when, like I said. When do you think it's going to happen? Do you think it's going to be 2022? You think it's going to be a few more years? What do you think the ballpark is for when we're going to see this universal DH actually happen?
Yeah, I think it's going to be 2022. I think a lot of people in baseball want it. I don't think pitchers enjoy hitting. I think you might find the oddball one or two
Michael
players,
Lorenzen, yeah.
yeah, Madison Bumgarner that
Yep.
enjoy hitting. But outside of that, I don't think pitchers really enjoy hitting that much. And yeah, I think it's bound to happen in 2022. And teaser later in the show, there will be an Ori's Amazon product of the day, except it's Jack's Amazon product of the day. I'm going to sub in for Ori on this one. So we'll see
Oh,
how
we'll
it goes.
see.
I probably
See how
won't be
that
able to
goes.
live up to what Ori normally does, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And the hot stove is, if you put your hand on the hot stove in baseball right now, it's going to give you frostbite, Sammy. It is so beyond cold. However, we
Really? I
had
mean,
it
we've
is
had some.
not really
I mean,
very
okay.
not compared to other years. It is cold.
All right. Well, yeah. Let's get into it. And there were some big, I mean, not huge moves like you were saying, but there's pretty significant moves. Raciel Iglesias from the Reds. He's kind of been their lockdown bullpen guy. He stepped into that closing role quite a lot. Hard thrower, has a great slider. Got traded to the Angels. And Jack, I wonder what your thoughts are, because the Angels are a team that obviously struggled. And they have a good offense. Like, that's not where it is. The pitching is where they had needs to address. And do you think grabbing a guy like Iglesias is a move that is going to benefit that team and hopefully push them into the playoffs in the near future?
I do. I don't think it's going to push them into the playoffs in the near future, but I think it is going to benefit the team. I think that the Angels need so much pitching, whether
Yeah,
it's their bullpen, whether it's their
all
rotation.
around.
They just
Absolutely.
all around their pitching is absolutely brutal. I think everyone agrees with that. And I think Iglesias is a big step up. I think the Angels have an owner that's willing to pay money. The Angels were in on Garrett Cole. The Angels are in on JT Remuto, James McCann. They're in
Yep.
on almost everybody, you feel like. And this was a pure salary dump for the Reds. Raciel Iglesias is a young, really good pitcher, and this was a salary dump. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it seems to be for the Reds. Iglesias on a 3-year, $24.1 million deal. And that's not catastrophically huge, but a team like the Reds, who last offseason spent a lot, and obviously no team besides the Mets, they're the exception, is in a good financial spot. You're going to have to sell. And Iglesias has been a great arm for them. He's had an ERA around 3 for the past few years. Really, really good. And from a talent perspective, you hate to see him go. But from a money perspective, every team, especially the Reds, considering their spending last offseason, is in a tough spot. So I understand it from that perspective. I think their bullpen is going to suffer a lot because it was already below average. The Reds were not a team where you're like, all right, we're in the later innings of this game. I count on them to hold this lead or whatever. So, from a talent perspective, it sucks, but from a money perspective, it seems to make sense. And there are some other, free agent relievers on the market. Not a ton of huge guys, not a ton of really, really talented guys, but I think they'll be able to somewhat replace the talent of Iglesias.
Yeah, and we saw another trade take place. We saw Lance Lynn was traded to the White Sox, and the White Sox gave up right-handed pitcher Dane Dunning, who is the number 5 prospect in their system, and left-hand pitcher Avery Weems is kind of a little bit of a throw-in pitch. And this is a big move. I think this really helps the White Sox strengthen their rotation because Lance Lynn is one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball.
Oh, he has been forever.
He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball in the past couple of years. And if you just look at his career, like
He's never been bad.
he had one bad, not even awful, just kind of mediocre
Average.
year where he was with the Yankees for a little bit. He was with the Twins for a little bit. In 2018, we had a 4.14 ERA. And then and then if you start off his career, let's just take a road trip down Lance Lynn's career here. 2011, 3.12, 3.178, 3.197, 2.74, 3.03, 3.43. The outlier year in 2018, and then he had a 3.67 and a 3.32.
Really
That's
good.
a legit all-star caliber pitcher. His career ERA is 3.57. He had He had a 3.32 ERA this year. He's a really good pitcher, and I think he does not get the credit that he deserves.
Absolutely. Lance Lynn is a guy that I think any team, but especially the White Sox, would love, because the White Sox, you look at their rotation and they kind of need that middle of the rotation guy. And Lance Lynn could definitely be more than that. Don't get me wrong. But, you have your Giolito, you have your Keuchel, and then you have some back end guys like maybe, Gio Gonzalez, I think, is still with the team. I believe he might be a free agent. But the bottom line is Lance Lynn's going to be a guy that can eat up innings. That's what he did all year. He led Major League Baseball in innings, and he's been great at that throughout his whole career. And it's not just he's going to give you these, subpar innings. He is a great pitcher, very underrated. And I also want to talk about, as much as the White Sox would love to get him, they give up Dane Dunning, and he had a pretty good rookie campaign in 2020, but big things are to come from this guy because he has elite weak contact stuff. He is, in terms of prospects, a top-level guy of getting weak contact for pitchers. So do you think the White Sox possibly lose this trade by giving up Dunning? Do you think the Rangers are really thrilled to get Dunning? Because Chris Young, the GM of the Rangers, this is kind of his first big move. And some people are questioning it, but some people are like, hey, Dane Dunning can be a real stud, and he already is. So what do you think about that?
I think this is sort of a win-win trade. The Rangers are a team that clearly needs to rebuild. They've kind of held on too long in baseball purgatory where they're not really making the playoffs, but they're not bad enough to get top draft picks. Their farm system is not anything special. This really helps the Rangers strengthen their farm system. Now, the White Sox are a team where all of their talent, sort of like the 2017 Yankees in a way, they came up and they arrived a year early last year. All of their young talent is transitioning to the majors. However, they still have a very strong farm system. And you're giving away your number 5 prospect for a guy who can help you win right now. He's not even a top 4 prospect in their organization. He's a great player, don't get me wrong. But the White Sox have a really good farm system. And I don't think that this hurts it that much because he's not one of your top 3-4 prospects in the system. And you're getting a guy like Lance Lynn, who's your immediate number 2 starter, I think. And he would be an ace on many teams.
Yeah, I mean, another question I have to ask, do you think he's going to be as good? Because he's been around for a while. He's been around the block, and there haven't really been any indications of a decline. But when a player declines, there's, it's tough to see the indication. I think maybe he could start in 2021. That would be a concern if I'm a White Sox fan because you get this guy, and he's been great for a long time, but, like, at some point, every pitcher, every player in any sport gives. Every player is going to start to decline at some point. So I have to think, what if that happens to Lance Lynn? And what if we have the unfortunate timing of it being when he debuts with the White Sox? I don't think that's going to happen, but that is a possibility that I wouldn't want to risk giving away my number 5 prospect for. But like you said, I think it's a win-win trade because if Lance Lynn is on, which indications show he will be, if he's really good, he's going to help the White Sox tremendously, easily help them get into the playoffs. And he's a guy, like I said, that can eat up innings. And eating up innings will help you succeed in the playoffs. So I think it is a move that benefits both sides very nicely. But the White Sox have also made another move. Adam Eaton. He was a longtime White Sox. He had a top 20 MVP campaign in 2016 before he went to Washington. He spent a few years there. And now he is back in the south side of Chicago. Now, some people are a little confused by this move just because of the outfield depth that you already have. What do you think about Adam Eaton returning to the White Sox?
Yeah, I think, he's from Chicago, not literally, but, that's where he played the majority of his career. It's not a big contract. It's 1 year, $7 million for a depth piece in your outfield. It's not a huge deal, I don't think. I think it makes sense. It makes sense for both sides.
Well,
and I think there are a lot of interesting things that are going on with the White Sox right now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and the interesting thing is, at first, I think a lot of people were bewildered, but then you kind of hear their plans, and it makes sense. Eloy Jimenez, not a very good fielder, subpar. He'd been getting some DH reps, and they say they're going to try to get him more and more time at DH to get Adam Eaton in there. And I think that's perfect, kind of a platoon sort of thing where maybe you have Eaton, who's a lefty, hitting against righties, and then maybe you put Jimenez back in the outfield when there's a lefty. You could kind of see what Tony La Russa, the manager, will do. But either way, I think it's a nice move. Adam Eaton's been another underrated player, pretty good for a while, had a tough 2020 campaign, but I think he'll be able to bounce back because a lot of guys had tough 2020 campaigns just because it was 2020, just because of COVID, just because maybe you can't see the videos like you usually can. There are a lot of factors, and I think those probably affected Adam Eaton. Adam Eaton will be good next year, and he's a perfect fit, I believe, after close consideration for this young White Sox club. And, we had some moves, not too many, but the big one, I'd say, is Carlos Santana, who had a horrible 2020 campaign, but still has a high ceiling. And he is now heading to Kansas City on a 2-year, $17 million deal. Do you think this is a piece that will eventually blossom like they hope? Because he is on the older side, but, he's had some great years in the past. He's had a really good career, and I think he has a high ceiling for what he can do in these 2 years.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys had bad 2020 campaigns, like you mentioned. Adam Eaton, Javier Baez, Gleyber Torres to an extent, Gary Sanchez, and I don't really know what to make of it. I don't know what you can take from the 2020 season because we've never seen it before in our lifetime. So it's going to be interesting. And next year, we're going to see a lot of truths come out. We're going to see, is Javier Baez what he was last season? Is Carlos Santana what he was last season? And I don't think so. I think if you look at Carlos Santana's 2019 All-Star, MVP votes, 911 OPS, 281 batting average, 34 home runs, that's a really good season. And I think we're going to see, I think he's going to come back to that. And I think it's a good signing for the Royals. And I mean, the Royals are kind of one of the big teams of the offseason so far.
Yeah, so far with limited moves. But the thing that impresses me most about Santana, even with this 2020 campaign, he hits 199, right? He's not hitting for too much power, but his on-base percentage is 349. He walks an incredible amount, and this isn't just a new thing. He's been doing this his entire career. So if he gets that hitting back on track, which he will, he'll be getting on base near 40% of the time. And I would easily pay 2 years, $17 million for a guy that's going to be getting on base 40% of the time. That is huge. Not to mention that he hits for significant power when he's on, and he is a good contact hitter. I mean, I'm really excited for this move. I think it could be one of the steals of the offseason. I think he could be poised to have another nice year because you look at 2019, like you said, 281 batting average. He had a 911 OPS, an MVP candidate. So I think it's a great signing for the Royals, filling in a hole at first base that they needed. And those are the big moves so far. We will keep you updated with the hot stove that is currently not too hot. But we also had some other baseball news this week. The all MLB teams were released. Jack, what are your thoughts? Because most of it's pretty expected, but there have been some complaints, rightfully so, from a lot of people. So do you disagree? Do you agree with a lot of it? What are your takes?
I think a lot of things were correct. However, I don't know how I can say this because I don't want to seem biased, but I think Luke Voit was snubbed. I mean, he led the league in home runs. He was an MVP candidate. Well, actually, he wasn't, but like he was very.
He was up there.
He was up there. If I just take a quick look at his Baseball Reference, he had 22 home runs this season. He had a 948 OPS, and he got MVP votes. He did get MVP votes. And I just want to hear from a non-Yankee fan, do you think Luke Voit was snubbed?
Well, I think it's tough because first base is a position where you had so many great performers this year. You look at the two guys on the two teams, Freddie Freeman, National League MVP on the first team. The first baseman on the second, all MLB's second team is the American League MVP, Jose Abreu. You can't really beat that. I mean, he got MVP votes, and I feel like if he's at any other position on the field, but he's at first base, and it's tough. I do agree it's kind of a snub, but
I think you got.
it's
I mean, you
tough.
can put him at a different position, I guess. Like I don't know,
DH, but like, I
DH,
mean,
I
even
guess.
that's a little tough because
Yeah,
then you have to put him over Nelson Cruz and Marcell Ozuna, who had incredible
that's
years as
true. But
well.
I just think you got to fit him in somewhere. We're not going to spend too much time
Yeah.
talking on this because I think they did a good job with it for the most part.
I do. I mean, you have the obvious ones: Trevor Bauer, Yu Darvish. The pitchers. I feel like they nailed in the head. Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado. You got your Padres up there.
I
What
mean,
do you
there were
think
a
about?
lot.
One more thing. Do you think Real Muto should have been the first team catcher as opposed to Salvador Perez? Because Perez had a great year, but Real Muto is kind of considered the best catcher in the game, better defensive catcher for sure, and he still had a great offensive year. So, what are your thoughts on Real Muto under Perez?
I think Realmuto should have made it. I think Realmuto had a good year. However, I do think that the injuries played a factor. He was injured for the last couple weeks of the season, and,
Yeah.
and I think that did play a bit of a factor, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's tough because in the games he played, he's right up there with Perez, but you see it with a ton of guys when it comes to these awards. Juan Soto is an example. He had an incredible year. I mean, you look at his stats, and it's just off the charts incredible. But he missed, the first 2 weeks of the season on the COVID list. So you can't really – and especially in a shortened season. In a normal season, missing 2 weeks, whatever. But in a 60-game stretch, if you're missing 2 weeks, it's tough to be the MVP because all these other guys are getting 10 to 14 more games than you are. It's just a tough thing. But, yeah, I do agree with you that they got a lot of things right, did a pretty good job with these
You're always
teams.
going to have complaints, though. You're always going to have complaints.
And you're always going to have your haters. I mean, you look in the comment sections. That's a fun thing to do. If you see a post by anyone, if it's,
Sammy, do you have your haters?
do I have my haters? No, I don't have my hate. I am haterless as of now.
Sammy's just too nice. But before we transition to basketball, Sammy, I want to play a fun game with you.
All right,
Okay.
Let's do it.
I'm going to give you some statistics, player A and player B, and I want you to tell me which you think is better, okay?
Yeah, let's do it. That's fun. All right.
Okay, you ready?
I am ready.
Career OPS plus. Player A, 116. OPS. This is all for player A, okay? So, OPS plus 116. OPS 823. Slugging percentage 502. On base percentage 320. 236 a 236 batting average and 115 home runs, okay?
All right.
It's just now this is player B. Okay?
Yeah.
95 home runs, a career 278 batting average, a career 328 on base percentage, a career 783 OPS, and a career 111 OPS plus.
I'm taking player one.
You're taking player one. Okay.
I am.
Now we're going to go in the single season. This is 2019 for player A. Okay.
So these are both guys playing right now?
Yes, correct.
All right.
This is 2019 for player
All right.
A.
Also, if you're listening, be guessing with me because Jack knows, but no one else in the world knows.
Need some help.
So, yeah,
Sammy
I need some help. Be guessing. Be thinking with me.
Okay.
All right.
2019 player A. All-star. He's an all-star. He had a 118 OPS plus, an 841 OPS plus, a 525 slugging percentage, a 232 batting average, 34 home runs, and now player B, okay? Player B had an 820 OPS, a 328 on base percentage, a 275 batting average, 25 home runs, and a 109 OPS plus.
remarkably similar to the career numbers in the single season. I'm gonna have to take player one again. I mean, because player one, whoever it is, isn't really hitting for as much average. Like 230s, whatever. But you're getting on base at just the same amount, so I don't really care. And you're hitting for more power. So at the end of the day, I'm taking player one. Who are these mystery players?
Now, after I tell you the mystery players, you can. I want to hear your reaction, but don't talk for that long because I want to go on a mini rant here. Okay.
All right. I'm very curious because, yeah, I don't know who these are.
Okay. So player one was Gary Sanchez.
All right.
Player two was JT Realmuto.
That is really interesting. Wow. You know what? Wow, that's interesting. I'll let you rant, but Gary Sanchez has been a very good offensive player, right? And that's obvious. And I feel like it all goes back to, I was kind of talking about this a few minutes ago, an over dependence on batting average, right? That's the stat people look at. And I was
batting
talking about
batting average and RBIs out of the three stats in baseballs, pitchers and position players, the three most useless stats and the three dumbest stats are wins, batting average, and RBIs. Out of the stats that people put value in.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like...
It means nothing. It means nothing. On-base percentage is so much more important.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. And, yeah, it's the same thing with ERA, and ERA is an important stat, like, for sure. But
ERA matters.
People look at that, and that's like the only thing they look at sometimes. Sometimes on a video game or on a TV broadcast, you only see batting average or you only see ERA. That's the thing people are seeing most. So it makes sense that a lot of people consider Realmuto to be the better player, and defensively, he is. Defensively, he is easily top three catch, probably the best defensive catcher in the game of baseball.
He's fantastic. I'm not arguing.
Yeah, but offensively
is better than JT Realmuto. What I am arguing is that Gary Sanchez at his best offensively is better than JT Realmuto offensively. And now here I'm going to go into my rant. So if you're taking a walk around the neighborhood, find a curb, find a bench, find a nice comfy place in your house, get close to the phone or the speaker or the computer or whatever you are listening to us on right now, because this is very important, what I'm about to say.
All right.
Gary Sanchez gets so much hate from Yankee fans, deservedly so in some aspects of his game. He's not the best defensive catcher. We know that. But if he plays up to his offensive potential, I don't really care that much about his defense. I really don't. He gets so much. And I was listening to another Yankee podcast the other day, and they were saying that Gary Sanchez hasn't had a good year since 2017. And I am tired of the false narrative that Gary Sanchez has not been good since 2017. I am tired of it. 2019 was a great year for Gary Sanchez. If he put up those numbers every single year, he would be the best catcher in baseball. The best catcher in baseball. Better than Salvador Perez. Better than Yasmani Grandal. Better than JT Realmuto. He was an all-star.
You forgot about Wilson Contreras, but it's okay.
I am sorry, Sammy.
It's
he had an 841 OPS in 2019. An 841 OPS. You know what JT Realmuto's highest career OPS is? 840. The highest career that JT Realmuto has ever had, the highest OPS he's ever had is 840, and that came this year in a shortened season. Gary Sanchez in 2017 had an 876 OPS. That's way higher than what he did in 2019. Or not way higher, but it is higher. 2019, he had an 841 OPS. He hit 34 home runs in 106 games. He's the second fastest player ever to 100 home runs. We don't see an 841 OPS out of the catcher. We don't see it. It does not happen that often. So people have to stop acting like Gary Sanchez has not been good since 2017. He had a bad 2018. He had a historically awful 2020, but he was amazing in 2017. He was amazing in 2019, and he is going to be amazing in 2021.
Yeah.
He works so incredibly hard, and I am calling it right here, right now. He will have the best season offensively out of any catcher in baseball next season. He will have the highest OPS out of any catcher in baseball next season. I'm calling it right now.
That's quite the hot take, but I agree with a lot of the things you're saying. The thing with Real Muto is that he's been consistent, right? Year after year, whether he's with the Marlins or the Phillies or whatever, he's been putting up similar numbers and he's been producing offensively. And Gary Sanchez, when he's producing offensively, is one of the best offensive catchers in baseball. But when he's not, it's catastrophically bad, and it puts the Yankees in a tough spot at that position. So that's why Real Muto is considered to be better than Gary Sanchez. I think Sanchez, as of now, is definitely a top, 6-7 catcher in the game.
You can't really make that argument right now. However, and I'm not saying that Gary Sanchez is better than JT Realmuto. In no way am I saying that. JT Realmuto is a more consistent catcher, and he is the better catcher. But offensively, Gary Sanchez's potential is so much higher than JT Realmuto. And Gary gets so much shit with Yankee fans. I've never seen Yankee fans hate a player more than Gary Sanchez. And I just...
Yeah, and also, you forgot about Wilson Contreras in your list. 2019, the season you're talking about, Gary Sanchez, Wilson hit .272 with an .888 OPS and 24 home runs.
Yeah, but
he has a pretty high ceiling, and he's much younger, and he's a much better defensive catcher. So Wilson, let's not leave him out of the conversation. Not to make too big of a deal of that.
How old is Wilson Contreras?
Wilson, oh God, he's very young still. He is, drumroll, please.
Been around for so long.
28 years old. So
so him and Gary Sanchez are the same age.
Same age? Okay.
Yeah, so not really younger, but
okay.
I get the gist.
Yeah, but now we got to move on. Baseball's fun.
Why do we have to move on? We're having such a fun time.
We are. Maybe we should.
That's what you do, and remember, tease Ori's Amazon product of the day with me, Jack, coming up later in the show. So
better be a good product. You have to outdo every product Ori's ever done.
I will.
That's a tough task. That's a tall task.
Product. Oh, I will.
All right, but we talked about the all MLB teams. We talked about some catcher talk, which was really fun. But we also had some basketball news. Paul George signed a max extension with the Clippers. Very exciting if you're a Clippers fan, I guess, because he was good during the regular season. But do you remember the playoffs, Clippers fans? Jack, what do you think about this? Because, it's exciting on the one hand. We have a star player for, 5 more years or whatever. But he was so bad in the playoffs that I almost lose trust in him. I almost do.
Now, it is exciting, and I think the playoffs definitely dampen things. However, I don't think you can put your stock all into the playoffs. I think he's a good player. He's been a great player, Hall of Fame caliber player his entire career. And I think he will be a good player moving forward. I think he's a great player. I don't think you can you can't put all your eggs in the playoff basket, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and if you're the Clippers, I guess you'll be contending in 5 more years from now, but what if Paul George isn't so great in 5 years now? It's very possible. He'll be a veteran by then. He'll probably not be as good. And if you're not a championship contending team by then, which you probably won't be, things change in 5 years. Do you want championship contending team right now? Right, but do you want to be paying Paul George that much money? And if he regresses, it's going to be tough to trade him out if you want to get rid of that money. So I get it, and I think it is a good deal, but if things go wrong, it could end up looking really stupid after the playoff campaign he had. And then if he regresses, if you're not a championship contender in 5 years from now, you're going to be paying a lot of money for a guy that might not be as performing at as high of a level as you want him to be. Now, I'm making a ton of assumptions, assuming Paul George is going to be good. Of course it's a good deal, but if you have a star player, you're giving a max deal when you're not a non-contender, which the Clippers at some point in the next 5 years, they probably won't be a contender. I think it could be a waste of money, even if he is a good player, because you want to just get that out of there. But, we'll see what happens. It could be a good move. And next week, NBA-wise, definitely stay tuned because we're going to be doing our NBA predictions. We're going to do playoff teams from the East and Western Conference. in celebration, I guess, of the start of the
Sammy,
NBA season. So,
Sammy, before we can do the predictions, though, we have to do the recap. So we're going to do that now. We're going to do NBA off-season recap. We had a ton of interesting moves. It was very unusual. It was not the best draft class. However, guys like Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, and LaMelo Ball are future superstars. The Washington and Houston trade that shocked the world. John Wall being traded for Russell Westbrook. Chris Paul going to Phoenix. Drew Holiday going to Milwaukee. We saw some really big names off the board, Sammy.
oh yeah, we did, and considering 2020, which you look at baseball and it's not been as turbulent, I guess. There were a lot of things happening for the NBA. You have teams like the 76ers almost, really rearranging things. They get rid of Al Horford, they bring in Dwight Howard. You have teams like the Bucks that bring in Drew Holiday, just one piece. Then you have teams like the Pacers, who Pacers didn't do anything. Pacers, only thing they really did was they re-signed Justin Holiday. So you have a lot of interesting stuff going on. Who do you think had the best offseason? Because I think you could say the 76ers did. I think you could say, depending on which side you're on, the Rockets or the Wizards had the best offseason just because of the magnitude of that trade. And then if you're a guy who likes draft picks, maybe you'll be saying it was the Timberwolves or the Hornets, which I don't think is a good argument to make, but they did sign Gordon Hayward too. Let's not get sidetracked. Who had the best offseason, in your opinion?
I think the Lakers had the best offseason.
Yeah. You know what? That's exactly what I was thinking, because I talked about this last week a little bit, but your championship team, right? You win the championship, whatever. You're at the top of the world. And then you go into outer space. That's basically what they did. They added so many great depth pieces, pieces that a lot of teams were really looking for. And, the Lakers acquired Montrezl Harrell, right? Dennis Schroeder. Any other? They lost Dwight Howard.
Marcus
Gasol as
Wes
well.
Matthews.
And for
Wes
any
Matthews.
team,
They re-signed KCP. You signed LeBron to the extension, and you signed Anthony
AD
Davis to the extension.
And if you're a maybe sort of contending team, like the 76ers per se, who had a good offseason as well, those moves are very good. But if you're the Lakers, right, and you're already the best team in basketball, and you said last week, you said it very well, the Lakers have this mindset where if you're not getting better, you are getting worse. And that's exactly where their mindset is, and that's exactly why they're getting better, because they don't want to get worse. And, it's going to be fun to watch. It could be one of the more dominant teams of, recent memory, because you have the Warriors, who were pretty dominant, with some of their, those hot shooters. You got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. But I think this team could compete with those guys. I think it's deeper than those teams from a bench perspective. And I think the combination of LeBron and Anthony Davis is one of the most dynamic star duos we've ever seen in NBA history. So it's pretty epic for the Lakers. If you're a Lakers fan, you're having a good time, I have to say.
They've been having a good time, Sammy. The Lakers are on top of the basketball world. But let's move on now to some football. We saw the Bears become one of the saddest teams in the NFL with their fall from grace. They extended their losing streak to 6 games, looking like me in fantasy football. The Browns surprised the Titans, and the Baker Mayfield roller coaster is back on the top. Carson Wentz benched. We saw all the memes. Some of them were very funny.
We also saw Steelers memes because they lost.
Yeah,
they lost.
I was so close to picking the football team.
You were. I believe. Were you talking about that on tape last week? I believe you were.
I think I was.
Yeah, man. That's rough. That would have been a great pick. But yeah, let's backtrack a little bit to the Bears game, because I thought I had already experienced the maximum amount of pain as a football fan that you can experience, right? We lost 5 straight games, and we're playing the Lions. So I'm like, all right, Lions aren't that good. We should be able to handle them. And guess what? We did. We handled the Lions. And like with 4 minutes left or something, we're up by 10 points. And I'm vibing. I'm like, all right, that's great news. Trubisky's playing pretty well. Montgomery, our running back, having a monster day. Things are going well in Chicago. And we're 4 minutes away, 4 minutes from closing out this game. And then it just all goes downhill. Mitch Trubisky, he's at like our own 20-yard line, has this embarrassing strip fumble, just Daniel Jones-esque, not being able to hold on to the football. And then the Lions score like twice, and it's just this whole disaster. And we lose. We lose a game where we're winning all game. We have not had a lead all game, and at the very end we blow it. It's just like I can't believe it. And it's the Lions. Like if you do that to like the Packers, which they did a few years ago, mind you, like I'm like, all right, the Packers are a great team. Aaron Rodgers, whatever, he's going to do that. Nothing against Matthew Stafford, but like the Lions are not a good team by any stretch of the imagination. They've had embarrassing game after embarrassing game this season, just like the Bears, but like the Bears are better than that. And like the defense.
Are they though? Are they? They're really not, Sammy. The Bears are really not, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think they got to take a quarterback next year in the draft because I don't think Nick Foles is for real, and I don't think the truth Trubisky is real, the man that they traded up for. But
Man, I mean,
you know who might be for real, Sammy? Baker Mayfield. Is Baker Mayfield for real?
No, Baker Mayfield's never for real. Let's get that straight. You said it perfectly. The roller coaster. Like a few weeks ago, he's down here. The Browns probably like lost by 20 points or whatever. Like, whatever. And then, now you're 9-3, and you had 4 touchdowns, and you beat a good team in the Titans. Baker Mayfield he's just very inconsistent, I guess, as we like to say.
He's not for real. I
mean,
guess that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, this Browns team, what do you think about it? Because going into the year after the disappointing 2019 stretch, they had kind of low expectations, but they have been very good. The talent that we were talking about going into that 2019 season is really starting to show. Mayfield has been, for Mayfield standards, pretty consistent. And this defense has been very underrated. And that's how they won this football game. Because, Baker Mayfield throws 4 touchdowns. That's all great. Nick Chubb has a good day. That's all fun and games. But they can't win this game if they don't hold Derrick Henry. You're playing the Titans. That's how you win games. To beat the Titans, you have to hold Henry. That is the first thing. That is the most important thing you have to do. And they did that. He only had 60 yards, an average carry of around 4, I believe. And that's what teams got to do, man. And the Browns did it very well. It's an underrated defense, and that's why I think they could be a Super Bowl contender. Are they a Super Bowl contender?
No. I think their defense is legit, but can you trust Baker Mayfield, money Mayfield in big spots? I don't think so. I think so much of their defense or so much of their offense relies on the running game, and I think if you face a team that has a really good rushing defense, I think the Browns are really going to be stopped. And like the Giants, for example, not a great football team. However, they have one of the best rushing defenses in the league. And I think the Giants will win that game just because I think they're going to neutralize Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And Baker, in the game against the Titans, was feeding off of the run game so much. And if you take that away from him, he really has nothing. Now,
not every team has a good rush defense, though.
Themselves. Let's talk about some quarterbacks that can create the run game. You know who I may be talking about, Sammy?
Lamar Jackson, Daniel
Jones. Jalen Hurts, the starter in Philly. Now, for me personally, you have so much money invested in Carson Wentz. I think this might just be we'll let Jalen Hurts get embarrassed. We don't need to play Carson. We'll fix him in the offseason because you have so much money tied up in Carson Wentz. You have to start him, like in going into next season.
It almost feels like Chris Davis, like a Chris Davis kind of predicament. Like, he's still the starting first baseman after all these horrible years for the Orioles, right?
And is making way more money.
Yeah, I mean, I would not like to be an Eagles fan at this moment. Like, And maybe he will resurrect his career somehow. But, like, I kind of agree with you. There's no team that's going to, in their right mind, trade for Carson Wentz with that huge contract after this horrible year. You are stuck with him, and you're stuck with that contract. Now, if Jalen Hurts really impresses, I guess he'll probably be the starter next year. We'll see what happens. I think he will be pretty good. I mean, Oklahoma, obviously, he was, one of the best quarterbacks in college football, if not the best quarterback in college football. So we'll just have to see what happens there. Like, if I'm the Eagles, I don't care if I get blown out. I don't care if my defense gives up 90 points. I want to see Jalen Hurts do well, because if I see Jalen Hurts do well, it gives me confidence that the future will be bright. Because I'm honestly fine with paying Carson Wentz all that money to sit on the bench if Jalen Hurts is being productive, because then you're still getting, your money's worth. You're maybe paying it to the wrong guy, but who cares? At the end of the day, you got to see Hurts do well. That would give me hope as an Eagles fan. We'll see if he does. It's all up in the air, I suppose. So, yeah, we also had the Steelers, and Steelers fans were riding high. The other Pennsylvania team, they were riding high, but their hopes were crushed. They were crushed, Jack. By guess who? A team with no name.
Without a name.
No name. No name.
I think they should just name their team the Washington No Names.
Washington. That has a better ring to it than football team. But
doesn't it? That's actually that has a good ring.
As we're gonna call them, the Washington No Names. A very nice name invented by
Washington.
Jack.
Well, Jim, Washington no Names defeated the Steelers in an amazing matchup on Sunday, and you just got to think what was going through Ben Roethlisberger's head on those last couple drives.
Oh man, all the Steelers haters, like you've seen all the memes and all of the hate the Steelers and easiest 11-0, whatever.
All my friends, I think all my friends are Steelers fans.
They proved those haters right by losing to the Washington No-Name team, whatever. I mean,
Washington
it was quite embarrassing.
Get it right. Come on.
Because Pittsburgh even has a lead in that game. I checked at like halftime. It was a 10-point game. I'm like, well, Pittsburgh's going to blow them out. It's going to be an easy game for Pittsburgh. And it wasn't. The offense stalled. The defense stopped being elite. But, it's going to be a close division race. And I know you're obviously biased towards the Giants, but the football team making a very strong case. They're tied record-wise with the Giants. And like we're talking about, they just had this incredible game against who was the best team in the NFL. Do you think the football team has a better shot than the Giants at winning the division? Because the Giants have a tough remaining schedule.
The Giants do. Now, the Giants do control their own destiny, which is pretty huge. However, a football team I can see them going 3-1. I don't think they're going to win out, but I can see them going 3-1. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's a two-horse race here, and we're going to see, man. We're going to see. But let's move on to the Week 14 picks. Now, let's start off. I need some good luck here. So we're going to start off with our upset pick, Sammy.
All right.
So my upset pick, I have the New York Football Giants against the Arizona Cardinals. The Giants are going to continue the winning streak. They're going to bring it home for the G-Men, and they are going to crush, not just beat, crush the Arizona Cardinals.
Interesting take. Cardinals are cold. Giants are hot. Fair take. And I'm actually going to take the team we're just talking about, the Washington No Names. Also playing an NFC West team, the 49ers. And the 49ers, not quite as cold as the Cardinals are, but they had a rough week at it last week. They lost, and football team, you beat the Steelers, and if you can beat the Steelers, you can beat just about anybody but the Chiefs. No one's beating the Chiefs. Let's get that straight right now.
Except for the Raiders.
Earlier in the
year. Bizarre.
Of course, that game I picked the Chiefs to win, so whatever. But I feel confident about the football team against the 49ers. I mean, the offense has been brutal for San Francisco all year. Defense still been good, but injuries have hurt them. Football team going to take the dub against the 49ers. And for my lock pick, I'm going to be taking a team I like to take a lot, and that is the New Orleans Saints, especially considering the fact that they're playing the Eagles, who I tend to pick against a lot because they're so bad. But really, the Saints haven't lost since week 3. They've been the hottest team in football for 2 months now. They're for real, even with Taysom Hill at quarterback. So I really like their shot against the Eagles this Sunday. Jack, what is your lock pick?
Lock it in, Sammy. Seahawks against the Jets. I think the Jets are going to be demoralized coming off of the Hail Mary, the Fail Mary. They're going to be demoralized, and the Seahawks are going to be angry coming off the loss from the Giants.
Greg Williams, man.
Carroll is going to get those guys playing, and they're going to beat the Jets by more than 20 points. I am saying more than 20 points, or he's going to lose both his games. You're going to go 1-1, average week for an average gambler like yourself. And then I'm going to go 2-0, and I'm going to get one step closer to first place. But it's not about first place. It's about last place because remember the bet. You don't want to come in last place, Sammy.
And we don't. But first place is still. I mean, I'm still striving at first. Well, I'm not here to finish in second place. Let's get that straight.
And I don't have great competition. I'm going against you and Ori. So
Ori's been up on us all year.
It's not like I'm facing, RJ Bell here or anything. But let's go on now. Sammy, if you're watching this on iTunes, he just said, he mouthed, I don't know who that is. That's a deep cut. If you get it, we should probably be friends. So I have a great Amazon product of the day for you guys. Better than any of Ori's Amazon product of the days. Now, are you ready?
I will be the judge. I am the third party. I will be the judge.
Now, and Sammy, this might shock you, but it's an animal product.
No.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Ori, he might be upset with you next episode. We'll see.
Oh, he's gonna be upset with me, baby. I'm overtaking a segment. No, but it's a cat butt tissue holder. Now, I have something that Ori has never had. I have a picture of it that if you're watching this on YouTube, I don't know if this will focus. Look at that.
So it's a cat and it holds your tissues?
Yes.
Now, that's pretty useful. If you're a cat person,
it's a funny. It has a 4.5 average rating, and I'm gonna read some reviews here. Now, first, it comes in 2 colors. It comes in orange, tabby, and black. Now,
I mean, depending on the cat, you can switch it up. That's nice touch. Nice touch.
Here's some interesting reviews. 5-star review with like 5 R's. Thickly disturbing. This amazing combination of creepy and disturbing. The only downside is that it's so large it's hard to fit in a powder room.
Okay.
Now another one says, was gift for my friend. I got this gift for a coworker and I left it on her desk. No note, nothing. Just the cat butt. She loved it. She knows right away who left it. It is an awesome item. I mean, do you think this is best Amazon product of the day category here?
No. I mean, it's good. It's strong. It's always had some products, though.
Well, Ori's had much more time, to be fair.
He has. And, maybe you'll live up to it if you guys have this rivalry going on, between Amazon products. But, yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent product, I have to say. I mean, if you're especially if you're a cat person, that's the thing about it. Like,
I hate cats.
Yeah,
that's not true. We rescued a cat once. We rescued a cat once. There was a stray cat in my neighborhood. We left out food for it. We brought it to the vet, and one of our family friends adopted it. Actually.
Oh, that's cool. So, yeah, I mean, cats.
I
like cats. I have no beef with cats. Just there have been some products on Amazon Product of the Day that have been pretty strong. So not quite.
Yeah, it's up there. I think it's on the Mount Rushmore.
We'll see, and maybe in the near future we'll make a list of all the Amazon products.
Top 5 Ori Amazon products of the days. I guess it's Ori/Jack now, but Sammy, we did it again. We made an incredible show. If you're still watching. We thank you for making it this far in the episode. We love you guys. We appreciate all the support. Sammy, any last words? And can we go through an episode without Sammy saying fun episode?
No.
Don't say
Another
it. Don't
fun episode.
God, Sammy.
You know what? There's never going to be an episode where I don't do it. You know
Next
what?
time, next time,
100th episode, I won't say it.
Next time, Sammy's gonna be talking, and I'm just gonna mute him.
Really? Okay.
He's gonna say, fun, he's gonna say, "Well, Jack, fun, mute." Just gonna mute him.
No, that's not happening. But it was another fun episode because every episode is fun. Episode 44. So we're making our way through. We're making content. It's
episode 44. That is crazy.
Yeah, and if you're watching on YouTube, you've obviously already noticed this, but I made a new intro. So if you liked it, if you thought it was cool or whatever, please let us know in the comments. If you liked the video, please, or like the podcast in total, please leave a review. If you're on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, wherever you are, just tell us what you think because we love hearing from you guys and we like getting your feedback. So thank you so much for making it this far to the end. Can't wait, even though it's hard as a Chicago sports fan, to keep watching sports with you guys.
Yes, thank you guys for listening to another great episode. And we'll see you guys next time on Chatter from the Cheap Seats. Sammy, take us out.
Bye.
Bye.